So my capstone project is called No Fly Zone, and it is an esports organization. If you don't know what esports are, basically it is very similar to uh, traditional sports like the NFL, NBA, that kind of thing, but it's for competitive video games. It's actually a really big industry and it's only growing. One of the main differences between this and traditional sports, other than the competitions being done, are the fact that whereas an NFL team only has, say, the Eagles, they're just that team. An organization such as like Cloud9, for example, which is a popular esports team, they have several different competitive games that they have players representing them through, such as like League of Legends, Rainbow Six Siege, and just several other games. So they have several teams under their umbrella. So I'll be designing for several different competitive games. So these are a lot of the early sketches. I started off kind of brainstorming the names. The name is really important just because that's what people are going to be wearing on their shirts. That's what people are going to be cheering in a stadium. I think that's one of the most important things because if a team has a good name, it's something that would stick with fans. And then along with that, they also need to have good acronyms because a lot of times their names are abbreviated down to just something shorter. So No Fly Zone, my team, would be NFZ in a lot of situations. Once I was kind of decided between two names, No Fly Zone and Team Odyssey, um, I started sketching out ideas for both. I really wanted to see which one I could come up with better ideas for, and I decided that I liked the direction I was going with the No Fly Zone much better than Team Odyssey, and I think it left me for a lot better opportunities. So then I went to my computer and I started doing a lot more research on existing teams' logos. I wanted to see what worked, what didn't, that kind of thing. I looked at a lot of very popular teams like Team Liquid, TSM, Fnatic, Gen G, and I really wanted to see how their logos were. And a lot of them were very somewhat kind of basic. They were very simple. They had only a couple of colors. They were eye catching. They were easily distinguishable, just kind of at a glance. And that's where I started off with. I took the letters NFZ and I tried to create something with that. These are all the early versions. I was also really playing around with color. I think one of the most effective things that came from the early designs for it was the way that the Z in the center of the logo uh, really looks like a circle with a cross going through it, which I think was a good direction for the brand to go. Then I went back to my sketchbook. I started sketching on more designs to kind of make the logo a bit more interesting, a lot more fluid, um, and just more visually appealing. I then kind of played around with how that would look in Illustrator, and the bottom two logos are the ones I decided to go with. Those are my in color and black and white versions. It's not as obvious the letters NFZ in the logo, but I think the more you look at it and once you realize what you're looking at, it starts to kind of make itself more obvious to the viewer. I think it's just more visually attractive as well, and it follows a more circular shape. I think it would just look a lot better on branding and merchandise. I then decided to make a branding standards guide, something that just kind of helps me understand these are the colors I use, these are the logos I use, this is how they should be used, this is how they shouldn't be used. I think in general, anytime you're designing a brand, having a standards guide is really important. Um, in a situation when you're working with multiple designers, it's a great way to keep people all on the same page and working within the same style while being able to keep the brand consistent. Then I created the jerseys. These are what the players would wear while competing, and they would also be for sale to fans. And jerseys are a really popular item for fans to get of their favorite teams and their favorite players. Then I wanted to do some mock ups of seeing how they would look on merchandise like shirts, backpacks, all that kind of stuff. Because again, these teams exist to make money, and selling merchandise to fans is a great way to do that. I also created a website. I base it off the TSM and CLG websites. It shows several options at the top menu. It shows a calendar for upcoming events and competitions that the organization would be competing in, and then just kind of marketing on the homepage as well for the 2021 jersey. And then this is what I plan on doing in the future. I want to create kind of branding that would go in a competition setting. So these are pointing out the Cloud9 branding for a League of Legends game. I basically want to make these all for my brand and then edit them into a competition just to show how it would look. And yeah, that's No Fly Zone.